You're listening to WooSox Insight, presented by your Worcester Red Sox.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the 30th ever episode of the WooSox Insider Podcast. Alongside Dave Leonardi, I'm TQ. Joining us is Senior Director of Special Events at Polar Park, Hannah Butler, because Hannah, the baseball season's winding down, sadly, but there's still so much going on. So I want to start with the EBW Classic, the Holy Cross football game here at Polar Park, which was such a hit last year. It was a blast for everybody. What exactly, I'll start that question over, but we had an episode where we talked about opening day and kind of all of the things that went on behind the scenes that a fan might not know about. The EBW Classic was kind of like an opening day for you in a sense. So what went into that? Because you were working almost all of 2021 on the EBW Classic.
Yeah, absolutely. I kind of joke and say that this time of year for me is like the month of March for the rest of the front office, when everybody is freaking out. What are we forgetting? We still have to crunch all this work into just a few days, like hence the dark circles under my eyes, because we are just coming in on opening day for the special events team. So the football game last year, it took about a year and a half of planning, because obviously this place was built for two baseball teams of 40 people per roster, and we had to figure out how to accommodate two massive football teams with like 100 people per roster. So every little detail that we planned for baseball had to be completely reconfigured to make this place work for college football. So I think the most obvious is the field conversion. We spent 2 weeks to turn the field from the beautiful baseball field that it is now to a stunning football layout. So that involves completely digging out the mound, sodding over all the infield, sodding the warning track. There's a ton of preparation that goes into it. Then for the 2 weeks, we're doing all the physical conversion. And then, 2 days of football. And then it's another week of turning it back into baseball. So it's a long process. Last year, one of the scariest moments for me in the planning process was standing out there with the Holy Cross representatives and Elliot, our head groundskeeper, and putting the marks in where the four corners of the football field is supposed to be. And there was about 24 hours where we didn't think it was going to fit. And it was the scariest. And this is like a month before the game. Right. Like this isn't when we open the park. This is, let's double check, right? It took about 24 hours for Elliot and his guys to put the strings along the four edges of the football field and doing the slightest rotations, right? Because if you rotate one string an inch, all the rest of the strings have to get rotated so that it's 90-degree angles. And in football, you need 6 feet of run out all around the edges of the football field from a safety standpoint, and we did not have that 6 feet for those 24 hours, and boy was I lost sleep that night. So it's things like that you don't even realize you have to worry about. We had to figure out how to fit 90 massive football players in a clubhouse that's built for 40 people, and TQ and your team spent weeks trying to reconfigure our video boards to go from innings and balls and strikes to downs and quarters and not penalties and flags and all that stuff. So it was a very, very long process, and knock on wood, this year has been 10,000 times easier now that we've done it once. But it took a lot of work from every single person in this building to figure out how to pull it off, but it was worth it, completely worth it.
So how were both rosters able to fit in those clubhouses?
Yeah, so what we did is we took out all the nice big comfy chairs and all the cute little couches that they have in their clubhouses, and we replaced them with tiny little black plastic chairs. So a lot comfortable, but a lot more space efficient. In the middle, where usually there's like a ping pong table and a couch and games, it was just rows of chairs. And then the poor little freshmen that weren't playing that day got kind of shoved over into the batting tunnel for a little bit of extra space. So it was tight, but we made it work. And our visiting clubhouse is even tighter, so it was a tight little squeeze. But those guys have dealt with some worse conditions in some other places, so at least our facilities are nice and clean and pristine. So they think they were able to get past the space restrictions.
That's awesome. So, Hannah, you went to the University of South Carolina.
Oh yeah.
What did it mean to you as someone when you were at school who loved going to football games? What did it mean to you to bring college football to this stage here in Worcester at Fuller Park?
I had so many meetings about tailgating. How cool is that? Like, I mean, granted, it was meetings about porta potties and fences and not cool fun things, but for a girl that went to an SEC school that like every Saturday was Christmas morning, it was so fun to get to be part of those conversations for bringing that college football atmosphere to Worcester. I think, though, the biggest difference I noticed on the day of the game was that it was essentially just a big college reunion for everybody.
Yeah.
People didn't really care too much what was happening on the football field. So that was a big difference for me, for somebody that, granted, South Carolina's not been too talented when it comes to the football field the past few years, but we care about our football, and I think they cared, but they weren't quite as invested in the downs and the touchdowns and the score as they were catching up with their old, college roommates from 50 years ago.
So you mentioned the tailgating discussions. How did those go for a ballpark where one of the biggest things we hear about from people is that they don't know where to park or they don't think there's enough parking? So how were you able to find a place to manage people and staff the event with security and ushers and set it up nicely enough so that people could tailgate this game last year?
Yeah, it came down to one guy. Our guy, Dennis Dowdle, opened a parking lot. The city of Worcester, understandably so, has a number of requirements that if you do want to host tailgating, you have to follow a number of safety procedures. So having X number of porta potties per 100 people, having a police detail, having a barrier, and having some amount of insurance. So if you're somebody like Dennis who's going to take on this tailgating experience, there's a decent amount of expenses associated with making that happen that, it's not as easy as literally opening the gate to your parking lot and say, okay, everybody go have fun. There's a lot more that goes into it. So I think those Dennis really stepped up and made a super fun tailgating experience for everybody right outside the front doors of the ballpark. So I remember standing in the park and looking at the tailgating and saying, A, that looks like a blast, I wish I was there, but B, wait a second, come in here and come have fun with us, which eventually they did, but probably not until the end of the first quarter. So Dennis really stepped up and made it a good time. He's definitely planning to do the same this year, so I'm sure more information will come soon, and we're hoping to expand the tailgating experience because I know how important that is to Holy Cross and their football atmosphere. So hopefully it'll just continue to grow. But yeah, definitely a lot of porta potty talk in those meetings.
Speaking of tailgating, what could fans expect this year as far as tailgating and other aspects of the experience outside of just the game for this year?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we were just talking yesterday, TQ and I, about what pregame ceremonies are going to look like, in-game ceremonies, that type of thing. So it's nice with two different organizations. We can kind of mix it up, right? You guys know for WooSox games, we know at the end of the 6th inning, every game is going to be Sax Kiff's Cam. We know at the end of the 8th is going to be Sweet Caroline. We just kind of repeat a lot of the same things because it's part of our tradition. But with this, we're able to bring in some of Holy Cross's activation. So things like catching balls and buckets that are on your head, and pregame halftime shows by the band. Like, we never put a full-blown band out on the field during a WooSox game. So definitely bringing the band back, bringing the cheerleaders back. Hoping to have some fun personalities for the coin toss again this year. Last year we said play ball beforehand, so we brought a little bit of our baseball tradition to the football game. So I think you can expect to see kind of a different mix of those things again this year.
Yeah, I think play ball and Sweet Caroline
Yes.
are if you're coming to an event at Polar Park where teams are using the field, you can bank on play ball before it starts. Sweet Caroline somewhere about 3/4 of the way through.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what sport. If we get hockey here eventually, we'll find a way to fit it in for sure.
Oh yeah.
Admittedly, this area, I think, or at least I'll speak for myself, not a huge college football guy. I didn't go to an SEC school. I went to a liberal arts college, Boston, and BC was always like the king of college football in the area, and even that wasn't followed so much. So the first Holy Cross football game I ever went to was a couple of weeks before the EBW Classic, and it's awesome. It's so much fun. It's so cool. The football is great too. I think Holy Cross wiped Colgate last year at the EBW Classic, and it was the same story with the game I went to at Holy Cross. So it's such a cool experience. They do so many fun promotions, like you were talking about, Hannah, the basket case and all that stuff, and tailgating. They do tailgating at Holy Cross before every game too. It's sick. And speaking of tailgating, you can do some of those same activities that you would partake in while tailgating at a different event that's going to be field level at Polar Park coming up soon. Tell us about the craft beer and food truck fest that's coming up.
Absolutely. Before I do that, you reminded me of going to that game together last year at Holy Cross. One of the craziest things I've ever seen was over 100 cars parked on the Holy Cross baseball team's outfield. My jaw dropped. I sent a picture to our head groundskeeper so fast. I said, "Can we do this?" And he said, "Delete that picture right now. Do not send any ideas." So that I'm gonna have to get myself to a Holy Cross football game just to tailgate on their baseball field. But anyways, I digress. Similarly, we will be putting 3,000 people on the baseball field at Polar Park on September 10th. So that's the Food Truck and Craft Beer Festival. So this is an event that actually carried over from Pawtucket, our days at McCoy Stadium, where we put, I think this year we're going to have 22 different food trucks on the warning track, and then people will be able to come down, get their food truck food, hang out. We'll have yard games, so like cornhole and giant Jenga, all that fun stuff. And then we have over 80 different types of beers to try around our concourse. So I know you can't try them all. It stinks. I wish we could go all day long. So you get your drink tickets when you show up, you get your food truck coupon when you show up, and you can use those, and then you can buy more drink tickets and you can buy more food truck food. We have a couple of local bands performing this year as well. So the first half from 5 to 7 will be Between the Waves, and then the second half from 7 to 9 will be Tequila Bonfire, I believe is what they're called. So we'll have some good
That's
local
a great
music.
band name.
I know it is. I'm excited to hear them. So we'll have them playing live music over the field. We'll have all the different drinks, all the different games, and it's a blast. It really is such a good time. We have a VIP experience this year, which is sold out. So unfortunately, you can't buy a ticket if you're listening to this right now, but we'll have exclusive beers up on the DCU club level with some exclusive live music up there, exclusive concessions, some VIP gifts. So that one's it's such a good time, and it does make my job fun when I just get to be a party planner and say, if I was going out to drink beer and eat food with my friends, what would I want to do? So we try and bring it as much as we can. It's a good time.
I was at that as a fan last year, the craft beer and food truck event, and it's so great. And the amount of people that take their shoes and socks off and walk around the outfield grass is blasphemous. I can't say I didn't do it myself, but it's crazy how
I
many
know.
people just want to get the grass between their toes, I guess. And
I know.
that's a testament to Elliot Lindstrom.
Yeah. Can't blame them.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's plush, it's gorgeous, and it's a fun time.
Yeah, it is. That event is another one too, that I feel like if I was somebody, just a normal average Joe going to an event like that, in my head, I'm like, oh yeah, just order a crap ton of beer and stick the trucks out there and like open the gates. You don't need to do a whole lot more than that, right? Wrong. Obviously, it's a lot more planning than that. But one of the biggest challenges we had last year is the left field gate where our field access is just a little too short for my liking. So every year for that event, we pay somebody a whole bunch of money to come in, unscrew and unwind the garage door system that goes there so that we can get 6 extra inches of clearance so that the food trucks can actually fit onto the field. So that was a fun one to discover last year, but we were like, oh, easy peasy, we'll just drive them all on. And we were wrong. Luckily, we found that out in advance, but that's one of those things that you never know what kind of stuff goes into it when you're not actually in the middle of the chaos.
So for the food trucks and the craft beer, is a lot of that local food restaurants, that vendor, or like local breweries?
Yeah. So we work with our distributors, Atlas and Quality, on all of our beer vendors. So it's a lot of local vendors. Wormtown, actually, last year, they took over one of the dugouts and had a bunch of games and giveaways and stuff in the dugout and all their beer. Sam Adams is one, which obviously is a bigger brand, but it's a local brand. Wachusett is here. Harpoon is here. And then a bunch of smaller ones, right? The whole point is for it to be craft beer. So a bunch of the smaller local breweries are present as well. So I think last year we had about 30 different breweries, and then each brewery had 2 to 4 different types of beers that you could try.
Dave, it was electric. You should have been there.
It was electric.
I gotta go there this year. I am 21. Yes.
Yes. Get Dave to food truck.
So, Hannah, at the time this is coming out, it is Monday, August 29th.
Yes.
So we're currently at the 2nd annual, but it's another tradition that carried over from Pawtucket, WooSox Foundation Golf Tournament, presented by the Hanover Insurance Group. So tell us about what exactly goes into planning a golf tournament too, and if someone has maybe a local business that's trying to get involved and attend next year, how they can do that.
Yeah, of course. So golf tournament is personally one of my favorite events to plan all year, because unlike the other 199 events we do in a year, I get to plan an event that's not at Polar Park, which, don't get me wrong, I dearly love our home at Polar Park, but I spend a lot of time here. So any excuse I can get to plan an event somewhere else, like, sign me up. So I get to be the one that's picking the menus. And is it going to be bacon wrapped scallops, or is it going to be pigs in a blanket, or is it going to be 100 of everything? Usually I go
It's going to be all of them,
because I want all the snacks. There's definitely an ice cream sundae bar, and I am the one to thank for that. So I love getting to pick the menu and do what I think is the fun stuff. I also have recently been trying to pick up golf myself. So TQ, we went to the WooSox Golf League yesterday. Some of it's good, most of it's bad. So I get to work with some of our other golf fans in the front office to pick which contests we're going to do at the different holes. So this time we're doing one with hula hoops somewhere along the lines, which I think is fun. But a lot of the boring stuff is like, who's going to golf in the first spot? Who's going to go second? Do these two like each other? Do these two need to be further away from each other? So it's just a lot of fun because you get to get creative with it. I think something that I'm most excited about for this year is we're doing a raffle, opportunity and a super raffle opportunity. So some of the super raffle items are a 2021 season game used base signed by Larry Lucchino, which is pretty cool. We've got awesome. I think we've got a Chris Sale autographed bobblehead and Eovaldi autographed jersey. some Fenway concert tickets, some front row Red Sox game tickets, a whole bunch of just really cool VIP Red Sox and WooSox experiences, plus a few other fun things like gift certificates and a bunch of foursomes to some of the local golf courses. So I'm excited to see everybody's reactions to the cool things that Alex Richardson and the foundation team was able to collect this year.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's definitely something there. If you're a fan of this organization, that's definitely a place you want to be to try and, win one of those in the raffle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we'll see what we come up with next year for dates and everything. But if anybody wants to golf in the golf tournament, I'll start a wait list right now. Unless I'm at the golf tournament currently, then maybe I'll wait until next Tuesday to start the wait list. I'll sign you all up.
Man, I'm looking through the list right now. So for those listening, I was actually I think 18 minutes late to this podcast because Alex Richardson was asking me to make the signs for what is being auctioned off, and there's some good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
New England Revolution signed ball,
yes.
Russo Italian
Shout out to
restaurant
my friend
gift
Ian.
card.
Mm-hmm. I got Ian help me out with that one.
2022 bobblehead collection.
Yes.
Is one of the favorites. So fans, if you are upset that you missed a bobblehead giveaway on a Give a Wednesday here at Polar Park when the team is at home, maybe you just need to find a way into the WooSox golf tournament. Mm-hmm. You can get every bobblehead that year. It won't matter.
Exactly. Show up with some cash and I'm not going to turn you down. We're at the Haven Country Club in West Boylston.
Show up, turn the car around right now. We know you're heading to work listening to this. Turn around, see us at the Haven.
Your boss will understand.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, Hannah, between Pawtucket and Worcester, because you're one of the holdovers.
I am.
What is one of, if you can't pick one, your favorite events that you've worked since being with the AAA affiliate of the Red Sox?
Yes, before I joined this, I also thought of my lows as my time overseeing the events for the Worcester Red Sox. So I'll have to tell that story too. I talked a lot about the football game. I'm incredibly proud of that event and how well it turned out, but I've talked about it a lot already. So I would say my second favorite event that I've done has been our Valentine's Day dinner that we did back in February. It was complete opposite of the football game, right? It was only 100 people. It was intimate. It was dark. There was nice mood music and mood lighting, and it was such a romantic evening. We gave roses with handwritten thank you notes to everybody as they came in. We gave chocolates to everybody as they left. Our WooSox band, I heard perform, I think, officially for the first time. I had heard some unofficial performances.
Yeah, they had quite a set list for that too.
Yeah,
it was
Matt
lengthy.
and Taylor did Jolene, and every time I hear Jolene, I think of those two singing that song on Valentine's Day. It was such a good, well put on event, and everybody was so happy. Our team president even met his girlfriend at that event, so I will take credit for putting those two together. It was such a sweet event, so I'm really excited to do that again this year. You could rent the different suites as like an individual party or so. So the suite I'm in now, I think there were like 4 couples in here just having a freaking blast, and then every suite had their own little couple or own little family having themselves a nice steak dinner. That was a good one.
I thought that was a really cool sort of wrinkle to that event, where if you didn't want to dine in the DCU club with the live music, if you wanted a more kind of intimate night out with just you and your partner, that you could rent out a suite and have essentially room service brought over to you and have a fine dining experience by candlelight. I don't think it was candlelight. I don't know that we can do candles. By
we
fake
had fake
candles.
ones, yeah.
By candlelight.
Yes.
And just enjoy a night out in the dead of winter as you wait for baseball season to come.
Yeah, that was nice. And then I'll tell you about my low. I went to South Carolina like we talked about. I'm from North Carolina. So if there's 30% chance of snow, we're not going anywhere. School is closed for a week. Driveways are just off limits. Like, maybe you'll go sledding. We don't mess with the snow. We don't know how to deal with it. I don't know how to deal with it. And in between the year where we closed McCoy and we opened Polar Park, I was responsible for what we called our ball yard sale. So basically, it was like an everything has to go kind of sale. We had to sell everything. And originally it was supposed to be a big like in-person blowout. Everybody show up with your shopping carts and your grocery bags and throw all your bobbleheads and smelly t-shirts into a bag. And we're just going to clear it all out in one weekend. Well, like 2 weeks before this, COVID starts to spike right back up. And we're like, oh shoot, we have to do this all virtually. So we ran it all through our team store, which Kat, who I believe you guys spoke with last time, was a tremendous help. But I was responsible for selling all this stuff and getting it gone, basically. And there was one day, and I was supposed to go home for Christmas, and I was like, I'm not going to make it. We have over 60,000 things and like hundreds and hundreds of orders to fulfill. And I can't leave until it's done. So I was already a little bit stressed. And then we got like 18 inches of snow, and my landlord's snow truck clearer guy doesn't come until the snow stopped, and it was still actively snowing. And I had to drive from Worcester to Pawtucket, and I had to shovel my driveway from the 18 inches of snow to go sleep over at McCoy Stadium again. And I'm like in my driveway sobbing, just absolutely dreading the next 48 hours of my life. And I got there and we got rid of all the stuff and I made it home for Christmas. But whenever people ask me what the crappy parts of my job are, that is the moment that just comes right to the top of my head, was that driveway clearing December morning on my way to McCoy Stadium to sleep in the manager's old office.
That was like your official like christening almost of becoming a New Englander. Your early morning, having to go to work, 18 inches of snow, and it doesn't matter. The roads are open, nothing's canceled.
Oh, that was rough. So sorry to end on a low point, but God, that was
no, there's always a silver lining, and it was great seeing everyone in the front office kind of come together for that. We had so many orders, tens of thousands of orders from this ball yard sale. And I remember for the next couple of weeks, we had almost every member of the front office, so like 30 to 40 people, filling out order information and printing out labels to send all this stuff out as soon as possible, try to get it to everybody in time for the holidays. But literally it was almost like every other item of work stopped until we got all of these orders out for the holidays. So it was a nice little bonding experience for everyone, I think.
It was, and we can look back at it and laugh, but goodness gracious, that was a tough one. But it's okay. Valentine's Day and Holy Cross football made up for it.
Yeah, so working in events, I feel like it has a lot of similarities to kind of working in production, where there's so much planning and preparation that goes into it for just like one moment in time. So one thing I want to bring up, kind of in the same vein that we're just talking about, a bonding moment for the staff here. Everyone in this front office does so much work to make the season fantastic, and then on top of that, you plan a holiday party for the front office staff at the end of the year that involves a lot of planning yourself. So I guess in a sense, how great does it feel to bring everyone together around the holidays, that we can show each other appreciation when we may have been yelling at each other a couple months ago, like any siblings or families do? And in a larger sense, how does that feel doing it for a client or for an event?
I think it's really special to get to do it for the front office, and the holidays are so timely with the baseball season, because tensions are high and energy levels are low when you get to the end of a 75 game baseball season. And then you have me sticking in another couple big events between then and the holidays. And it's a lot of work and tireless days and nights. So to give it a month or two to let everybody breathe and then say, okay, let's all get together. And that's like the dead center, right, of our off season is, okay, we got to recoup and we're going into the holidays and we're all going to come together. And now we can look back and laugh on the day that Hannah sobbed in her driveway and we can laugh about the fight that me and TQ got over the layout of the video board for whatever event. And we can kind of look forward to a lot of the fun, exciting things we have coming up for the new year. So it is fun to get to be a part of that planning process. I think similar to the golf tournament, I personally would love to see us go somewhere else other than Polar Park for the holiday party this year. So this is my, like, everybody join the Hannah fan club and let's get a holiday party to be somewhere different.
We'll start a petition.
Please jump on the bandwagon with me, but it is a really fun, once again, I get to pick, like, what are we having for dessert? Like, I love getting to have that conversation. So that's a lot of fun. I do enjoy doing it for clients as well. Since we do so many events, a lot of times the events just can kind of feel like very transactional. You know, a lot of times I don't get the opportunity to make a personal connection with some of our different private events. Like, I obviously have the personal connection with our front office, but there are a few people. There's a woman named Ashling that is an event coordinator in Worcester, and she is kind of the in-between for a lot of organizations in the area and the venue, and she handles a lot of the details and logistics. She's someone I've gotten really close with. She actually was just honored as a Worcester Business Journal 40 Under 40 for this year. So she invited me to her 40 Under 40 dinner awards reception. So getting to build relationships with people like Ashling and then host really successful events together is really, really meaningful. And I wish that all 200 events could be like that, but there's only so many hours in the day to build relationships, and Ashling has definitely been a special one.
That's awesome. Event coordination is something that a lot of people go into after college. So you mentioned earlier, we have around 200 events a year. How do you stay organized and on top of things to make sure that all 200 of those clients, or I'm sure some of them repeat, they'll have an event in the winter, spring, fall, and summer. But how do you stay organized and on top of everything to make sure it's all going smooth?
Yeah, I would say number one is that it's not just me running all these 200 events. I have an incredible team with me that is also a very highly organized group of individuals. So Sarah is our manager of special events. She handles the majority of our 200 events, whereas I focus more on our fewer, larger events. So Sarah's the one that's really, she's dealing with an event, she's handling an event right now, happily handling an event right now over in the DCU club. So she handles a lot of our corporate events and is very much a great box checker and list maker and all the things you need to be. Eric Olafson is our coordinator of special events as well as marketing. So he's kind of that bridge between the marketing team and the Polar Park events team, but he also handles all of our external vendor relations. So every time we need to rent a table or a chair or a sound system or a stage, it's our guy, Eric, and he's built all those great relationships with all of our different vendors. So really my key to success is having Sarah and Eric to make the rest of the department look great for us. So it's the team that's been hugely helpful for me this year.
Does that sound familiar, Dave? Just relying on a bunch of good people?
Pretty much. People, we always say that. It's the people.
Yeah. It's the people. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
So last event and last sort of question before we run through the list of things that are upcoming that fans can come check out. The day after the WooSox, not regular season ends because there's still a 3-game series starting on the Tuesday, but the day after the last home game of the year, Sunday, September 25th, there's another baseball game going on at Polar Park on Monday, the 26th.
Yep.
So why don't you tell us about how Polar Park, the WooSox, Polar Park events are bringing back the Worcester Police versus Fire game.
Yeah, I am super, super excited about this one. So TQ, like you said, September 26th, we'll be hosting the Police versus Fire Baseball Classic presented by Country Bank. So we're partnering with Country Bank, the City of Worcester, the Worcester Police Department, and the Worcester Fire Department to bring back a 100-year-old tradition that kind of died out a little while ago. But when we announced that we were coming here, we knew we wanted to make that game a comeback and make it a priority. So this will be the inaugural of what will hopefully be another 100+ year tradition here at the park. So we've got two 40-man rosters, one from police, one from fire. We're going to do a flag drop. We're going to raise the Worcester City seal. We might do like a parade of sorts from the St. John's Church, which is right across the street from us. We're going to do a beautiful national anthem performance and the whole pomp and circumstance for this game. We are really breaking out every key we've got, every trick we've got up our sleeves to make this just a beautiful, beautiful ceremony and event to thank our first responders. So super, super excited about the pregame. Our police and fire representatives are already talking all the smack in all of our meetings.
Yep.
They are very competitive and look forward to playing each other again. So I'm curious to see who the winner is going to be after all the chirping I've been hearing on either side of me during our meetings. Then we'll have, we'll do all the typical Sweet Caroline, God Bless America, all that during the game as well. So we're hoping to have all of the police department, all the fire department, all their friends and families, and then after that, just the whole city of Worcester to come watch that game. It is a $10 ticket, and 100% of the proceeds are going to benefit the Manny 267 Foundation this year. So the fire department has agreed to let the police department have their charity of choice regardless of the outcome of the game. And then the idea in the future is to have both the police and fire departments pick a charity that they're playing for and have the proceeds benefit mostly the winner's charity, with a small portion going to the loser's charity as well. So this year we're all competing for one cause, but in the future we'll up the stakes and we'll have them competing against each other in a financial way as well.
So you said this is like 100-year-old tradition. Which team has won the most that has the bragging rights going into this?
Oh, I know that the police seem to have had more victories maybe in other sports. I know they have a hockey league as well that they do. So it seems, just based on my observations of their bickering, it seems as though police might have a leg up on fire right now, but I don't know. I like our fire guy a lot. He seems to be pretty confident in the arms they've got in the bullpen. So we'll see.
It should be an awesome game. Again, fans who are listening, a lot going on at Polar Park. September 10th, the Food Truck and Craft Beer Festival. September 26th, the Police Fire Game. October 8th, Saturday, the EBW Classic. And Hannah, how can people get tickets for all of these events?
Yes, for the most part, if you just go to polarpark.com and hover over upcoming events, there's a drop down for all three of those. So I won't go into the specific URL for all of them, but just polarpark.com and hover over upcoming events and you'll see the whole list.
Love it. That's all the time we have. I thank Hannah. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy, I was going to say day, but life here with the WooSox. And telling everyone who listens about what's going on. This is a lot of fun.
Cool.
And
thank you both.
Yeah, let's have some great events following the season and throughout.
Love it. Let's do it.